All right. So I don't think I need to introduce my panel, but I think for the sake of any person that is with us for the first time, I'll quickly do another round of introductions. So on my right, we have Ali Hadji, Mmadi, who is representing the AFTLD president, Dr. Alex Corentin. On my immediate left, we have Fahd from the Middle East DNS Forum. And again, we have Michuki, Mwangi from ISOC. So we are still waiting for two more panelists. But just to remind you that this panel will be looking at the future of the Africa Domain Name System Forum and the domain name industry. A lot has been said during this meeting. We have a number of things to take home. But that said, it would also be good to just hear from the panel, from the organizers and sponsors of this forum for the last 5 years, what their take is with regard to the future of the Africa Domain Name System Forum and the domain name industry in light of what has been discussed during this meeting. So at the end of the panel, I will make an effort to summarize what they will say in terms of conclusions and recommendations. But already we've had some tangible conclusions, such as the need for a working group to look critically into the issue of payment gateways. And I'm glad that we've gotten some volunteers to lead us in this effort. We've also heard of the need for a working group to look at blockchain and the DNS. Again, we will need to have a team of volunteers in the working group to actually come up with a brief, a policy brief or a paper that will then guide us on the way forward. And also, we'll be hearing from the Middle East DNS Forum regarding how they handle their steering team and some of the tangible outcomes of the Middle East DNS Forum. So I think without further ado, I will first give Fahd this opportunity to talk about the Middle East DNS Forum, what we can be able to learn from the Middle East DNS Forum, and what, in his opinion, has been some of their successes and possibly some of our successes, and also the challenges he may have noted and how we can overcome them. So Fahd, please, if you may take the floor.
Thank you, Barrack. Good morning, everybody, or probably good afternoon, somewhere between morning and afternoon at the moment. So my name is Fahd Batayneh. In addition to my support to the Middle East DNS Forum, I work for ICANN as a stakeholder engagement manager covering the Middle East. So in other words, I'm a replica of Bob and Yaovi in Africa, and actually I work very closely with Bob and Yaovi. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this forum for inviting me to talk about the Middle East DNS Forum and just to shed some light on the region that I cover. So the Middle East that I cover actually consists of the 22 Arab states, Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. And of course, some of those Arab states fall under North Africa. And in engaging with North Africa, we work closely with our colleagues at the Africa team, Pierre, Bob, and Yaovi. Now, the idea of the Middle East DNS Forum came into existence after the first Africa DNS Forum that took place in Durban. So it wasn't an idea that came out of the blue. The regional community in my region witnessed the first Africa DNS Forum. And then they decided that, yeah, this is something we should try in our region and see if it can help develop the DNS industry in the region. Of course, just giving some quick and light piece of information on the DNS industry in the Middle East, I wouldn't say it's very much different to that in Africa. It's very much underutilized. There is a huge potential for growth. So if we look at some statistics, none of the CCTLDs in the region have registrations of more than 1 million. So the largest CCT in the region is Iran, with a little more than 800,000 domain names. In number 2 comes Turkey with around 350 or 400,000. Number 3 is the United Arab Emirates with 200,000, and the rest really hover in the tens of thousands or even in the thousands. I would say that the industry is a little bit more advanced than Africa, but it's not very much far away, to be frank with you. And of course, when we talk about this region that I mentioned, we are talking about a population of more than 750 inhabitants and an internet penetration rate of more than 200 million. 700 million inhabitants and an internet penetration of around 200 million, which is close to 30% of the region. Now, in working on the DNS forum, again, following in the footsteps of Africa, we developed a strategy for the Middle East. And actually, the Middle East DNS forum was a suggestion from the Middle East Strategy Working Group. So the first forum took place in Dubai. And I'm sure everybody in the room has heard of Dubai. So that's the center of the region. That's where everything happens. That's where everything takes place. And so we felt that Dubai is the best place to kickstart this forum. We received good support actually from the local community and even from some of the big players in the industry. We also had a couple of panelists actually from Africa sharing Africa perspective, notably the colleagues from .za. The second forum took, of course, in developing the first forum, ICANN staff consulted the strategy working group, and we also consulted internally within ICANN to come up with a really good agenda to kind of, so that the agenda would have discussion items that could actually touch upon the key issues of the DNS industry in the region. Now, moving forward, we decided, and of course this was a suggestion from the community, that we have a program committee consisting of community members. And so we sent out a call to develop a program committee. We decided that probably a small program committee would be good, so a community of 5 to 6 members. And so we do have a program committee that consists of experts from within the region and from outside of the region. So expertise wasn't limited really to people from within the region. And one thing good we felt over the years is that when you have experts from outside of the region, they actually share with you a perspective from outside of the region of topics that are being discussed that could actually touch upon the DNS industry within the region. Now, the second forum took place in Amman, Jordan, and again, that was the first forum where we had a program committee that developed the agenda. The third forum took place in Tunisia in 2016. And actually in that forum, we started engaging more with the community. So in addition to having a program committee, we reached out to many sectors of the stakeholder community in Tunisia, asking them what they'd like to see in the forum. And so we had a full session dedicated to civil society engagement and user rights engagement in the domain name industry. We also had another session for entrepreneurs to come and discuss different aspects related to the internet and internet businesses. The fourth edition took place in Cairo just recently. It concluded in May. And again, we added another element there where we actually had a session dedicated for women called Women in ICT, and it was a panel full of women talking about their different experiences and expertise in the ICT industry. Now, in all 4 forums, we provided remote participation. We provided English to Arabic and vice versa live interpretation. And of course, like in all 4 forums, we had supportive local hosts. Attendance, in terms of attendance, the forum would attract somewhere between 100 and 120 participants, and for us in the region, that was a good target. Now, moving in parallel to the forum, I mean, we realized from day one that the forum is not the only venue that could actually help promote and strengthen the DNS industry in the region. So we embarked on a couple of other things. So one thing we embarked on was a study, a DNS study for the Middle East. The study was actually released at the ICANN meeting in Marrakesh in 2016. And in addition to that, we also have a DNS Entrepreneurship Center that actually that covers the Middle East and Africa. So the whole of Africa can actually benefit from the DNS Entrepreneurship Center. Now, before I move on to the DNS Entrepreneurship Center, I just wanted to note that from day one, when we started working on the DNS Forum, we made sure that the forum is not branded as an ICANN event. So we worked very closely with the other ISTA organizations, such as ISOC, RIPE NCC, and in some instances Afrinic, to ensure that this is a community, just to ensure that this is not branded as an ICANN event. Until today, of course, we never brand it as an ICANN event. We always brand it as a collective ISTA organization event. And of course, from the first forum up till today, we have received immense support from both ISOC and the RIRs. Now, moving on to the DNS Entrepreneurship Center. So it was a center incubated in Egypt. We received support from the regulator in Egypt. The objective of this center is to support the DNS industry in both Middle East and Africa. The center has done a lot of workshops and capacity building programs. They have also signed a couple of agreements with IBM and with a university in Egypt. In terms of training programs covering Africa, we held a marketing and a business workshop in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Benin. And of course, I invite you all, if you have any specific requests at the national level, to actually talk to my colleagues, Pierre and his team, if you need any help with capacity building workshops within the DNS Entrepreneurship Center. I also know that ISOC actually are working closely with the DNS Entrepreneurship Center, utilizing the online training platform to deliver some training programs, and probably my colleague Michuki can shed more light on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fahd, for that great intervention on the Middle East DNS Forum. Next, I will request Michuki to give his intervention regarding the same topic.
Thank you, Barrack. Maybe just to pick up from where Fahd has commented, is that we have been working very closely with partners for a long time, and a good example is the online training course, where we do offer DNS training for individuals who are interested in getting to understand how DNS works, and this course has been basically being pushed through the various organizations at the national level, but also working in partnership with the engagement centers and the contact persons at ICANN, who have been helping us reach out to more people to take up this course. We believe a better understanding of DNS means that we have a strong pool of people within the community who can actually manage this resource, because it's a critical component of how the internet works. Now, I'd like to start off my initial comment by asking if Kevin could put up a slide, well, not a slide, but a page. Just scroll down to that. It's talking about something called the adjacent possible. And this was a phrase that was coined up by someone called Stuart Kaufman, who is a theoretical biologist. And he refers to it as a kind of a shadow future hovering on the edges of the present state of things, or trying to create a map of the ways the present can actually reinvent itself. So I feel that when we look at DNS here in Africa, it's at that point, or that almost at that cusp of reinventing itself. And there are many possible ways which we could reinvent ourselves. The question is, are we going to be involved with that, or are we going to let others determine that? and looking at the DNS Forum as that platform which can help us reinvent the future of what DNS in Africa will look like. I think the DNS Forum presents that platform where we can actually make those decisions of how we reinvent ourselves going forward, how we make things better going forward, how we become innovative in addressing some of the challenges that we face with respect to making DNS more efficient, if I could put it that way. And so the adjacent possible is pretty much with us here, and I see AFTLD with its leadership and the DNS Forum providing us with that platform of how we can go forward with respect to the future of DNS in this continent. And a couple of the discussions we've had this week have been very important in trying to sort of present those those ways in which we need to reinvent ourselves. And looking at those, I think it's important that with the leadership of AFTLD, if we could try and take those parts more seriously. And what do I mean by taking these parts more seriously? There's been a suggestion about establishing working groups. And if we were to look at establishing those working groups, what do we need to do to be able to realize the goals? I think we don't need to go very far to learn from various experiences. ICANN has various constituencies, and those constituencies have done their work, and through those constituencies within ICANN, CCNSO, the GAC, etc., they've been able to produce outcomes that have actually been implemented. I think if I look at the DNS Forum, this is, I would almost say, similar to a regional ICANN meeting, if you will. It's not that I want to call it a regional ICANN meeting, but you know, it's where all matters DNS are discussed for this region. So maybe the future of the DNS Forum was to make sure that it has a platform where all the issues that are, you know, emerging are important to this region have a space where they can come, get work done, and those outcomes are things we go and implement as constituents or stakeholders of the DNS. So, you know, there are quite a number of issues that have come up this week. Barrack has mentioned most of them, so I will not spend time repeating them. But I think that's going to be a really important thing in how we look forward with respect to the future of the DNS Forum and AFTLD. In particular, and to be more precise, I would like to come maybe to a future DNS Forum and choose a working group that I'll spend the next 2 days focusing my attention on. And, you know, and then maybe have a plenary where we discuss general items. And that way, and I think the outcome from the breakout sessions that I saw yesterday, I thought that was quite interesting, because the technical people went to the technical, the business went to the business, and they can deal with the issues that are of primary importance to them at that point in time. And this will probably make the event more useful in that, you know, you go in, you have an issue, it gets deliberated on, it goes on to the mailing list, and by the time you're done with 1 or 2 meetings, you have outcomes that stakeholders can actually go home and implement. Otherwise, I don't see how we are likely to tackle the issues of payment gateways if we don't have proper structures on how we deal with it as a stakeholder community. Again, in doing so, we need to set out goals. So it will be of interest to us to see how does this community define its goals. We need to have large goals. I never saw a goal to define how many ICANN accredited registrars we want to have, or how we are going, how many national registrars we want to see converted, or, you know, transitioning to become ICANN accredited, or, you know, how many CCTLDs do you want to see signed with their, having signed their TLD, and within what time frame? If those are goals that are set at this level, then we will be working towards that. If we set a goal that we will want to have payment gateways working, let's set a goal and a timeline and work towards that. So that way we are able to achieve those goals. So I don't think we are asking for a big leap in the way we are doing things. It's just asking for, let's focus a little bit more and we'll start seeing some goals. So for me, and I feel we are at that point of the just and possible, and we could probably take that to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michuki, for that insightful presentation. I think before Ali responds, because AFTLD is at the center of this, I'll also request Bob to make his intervention from an ICANN perspective.
Merci. Bob, okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrack. I am stepping in for somebody else. I am told you cannot replace somebody, you just step in. Replacing somebody means you have to be exactly the same as that somebody. So I'm just stepping in. Okay, for me I think this is a very important session, first of all. And I have to keep noting that this is the 5th edition, and it is the point to reflect on, first, how we have done this in the last 5 years, and how we want to do it in the next 5 years. And I really think we are at a point where we are able to tell what has worked up to now and what is not working, and maybe have very clear ideas on how we can address those areas that have not worked as expected. I think we have a clear challenge on sustainability, first of all, of this event, and I believe it is something that we really need to address as a community. To date, I think the organizers have been largely ISOC, ICANN, AFTLD, and Registrars. It has been a partnership. I think the question at this point is the community okay? Is this the way it's supposed to proceed going forward? And we strongly feel that it is a point, at this point or in the next 5 years, we need the forum resident or owned in a particular institution that should be identified with it, that should actually be responsible or should be the face of that institution. And we think that, of course, as others have said, that AFTLD is best placed to be the face or the owner of this event, because it is an association. It brings the rest of the community. And we would appreciate if that ownership can then now start being prominent, and of course with the rest of us playing supportive roles, and we indeed want to continue being very supportive. But we would want to see this ownership now more prominent going forward. As Fahd said, even in the Middle East region, ICANN's role was to be a supporter, to support this event, but really not to be in the forefront. So I think it's important that we look at the ownership element and the sustainability element. If you look at our sponsors today on that holding slide, I am sure we could do better than that. And indeed, the sustainability of this forum, if it makes sense for us as a community, should not be an issue. We have the capacity to really make this event sustainable if we wanted to. So maybe the things that have not been appealing to the rest of the industry that has maybe hindered them from coming forward to lend their support. And maybe we have not reached to all the relevant partners. I think in the last 2 days, we mentioned, for example, payments. And we noted that for some time we were not having that audience with us. And maybe they're also possible actually to support this event as well. So that payment ecosystem, I think, has been absent in this particular discussion. But I also want to support, I think, what Michuki is saying, that maybe we also need to start being very clear and very specific on what we are coming to achieve on the forum itself. So a scenario where, for example, we have different working groups coming to present what they have maybe studied or researched over an year, and just use the forum to present their findings and invite feedback might add more value than taking the 2 days in plenary. So then we'll have presentations very specific from working groups who are specialists or who are interested in those particular topics they're discussing, and they come and present their findings, if it is payments, for example. So I think that differentiation might make this add more value to the rest of us than doing plenary for 2 days. So it's something that the committee can consider. I think we also need to prioritize some of the challenges that have been highlighted over the last 5 years and address them as per our resources. I think it might not be very feasible to have that list of challenges that we want to attack and in no any order. So it would be important to have maybe the 5 most important challenges that we are looking at, or that is inhibiting our growth as an industry, and focus on them and invite partnerships, relevant partnerships, to help us address them. So that at least in every year we should actually report having resolved or in the process of resolving something. Maybe that has not happened to date. I think we would also want to maybe first of all thank Benin, who has actually taken an initiative to localize this edition. And I would challenge going forward other countries to consider domesticating the issue of the national DNS forums. I think it adds value. On one end, this is supposed to be exhibiting the elements of a multi-stakeholder ecosystem. And maybe if you do at the national level, other stakeholders might actually take note. So it's a challenge to the rest of us to consider trying out what Benin has already done, and actually is going to the 3rd edition now. So I think that's a good example for us that has come out of this meeting. I think other than that, I would agree that the adjacent is possible. Or is it the adjacent possible? Thank you, Barrack.
Thank you, Bob. Indeed, the adjacent possible is the new word. So, Ali Hadji, AFTLD has been mentioned a lot regarding what the way forward. So, could you just summarize in a way everything that has been said, and possibly also give the AFTLD take on the same?
Merci, Barrack.
Thank you, Barrack.
I admit that we are carrying out something that is very important because we are trying to figure out what the future holds for us. We have to think about this up to the next edition, which is going to make it possible for us to have an idea about what we have done today and what should be done in the future. I want to thank Benin and commend Benin, which expressed the desire to organize the next edition. This goes to show how much our actions, whatever we're doing, interest the community. Beyond the technical community, the leaders, the different leaders in our countries are also responsible because we have to bring together all the stakeholders working in this sector. As far as FTLD is concerned, FTLD is aware of its mission. That's the reason why the FTLD is striving to play a very important role within the community, the role of gathering or bringing together all the actors. We have had a very edifying, very informative debate, especially the one we had yesterday, in order to make our work durable. And the FTLD is very much aware of that, and that is why we commended the job that has been carried out. And FTLD thinks that we have to put in place a task force. A task force that is going to be inclusive, and the criteria can be devised. For instance, we have to have a presentation by ICANN and ISOC and Registrars. And even the International College, the ICANN International College can also make some presentations. Who carried out this recent studies? The study that is ECCF. So together, they can put together the term of reference of that working group, and it is from that time that we're going to carry out concrete actions when we are going to entrust them with a very specific mission. So we will give them a timeline so that we can at least realize all of our objectives. And FTLD would like to put in place a platform which is going to make it possible for all the community to have access to information. Because I think it is high time that we create a certain trust, that we create a certain level of transparency in relation to the activities that we carry out. This should be, this should happen at the level of all the CCTLD, and this platform is in the process of, we're still looking at ways and means of putting up the platform. We have had a conversation with one of our partners who's ready to fund this project. And I hope that from now up to the next edition, depending on the timetable that we're going to set, I think that from now on up to the next edition, we're going to have this platform which is going to be placed at the disposal of all the community. And the community could have access to the information from that platform, and the information will be put at their disposal. As Artemis said, he said the most important thing is to be given the ways and means so that I can change the world. ICANN is playing a very important role. ICANN is supporting us. It is high time that AFTLD played that role of facing that challenge of becoming active so that together we can realize the objectives, taking into account the African strategy which we have developed together. We also are aware of the fact that nothing can be done. We can only do things if we have all the intellectual capabilities. And when it comes to our technical work and our communication work and our governance, we can't do anything if we don't have the wherewithal. That is why FTLD has always supported the organization of different workshops in order to develop, to improve the work of CCTLD. And this year we have organized a workshop for the training of trainers. By that, we would like to show that the FTLD would like to move forward and has to work more and more in the field of capacity building, because this is very important. That is a very important point, because it is going to make possible for all the CCTLD and all the community to develop more and more. When you look at the results that have been presented to us yesterday, you can see that some CCTLD has achieved great results, but this is not the case for all the CCTLD. Many reasons have been given. There were organizational reasons that were given, and other reasons that I don't want to mention here, because everything was very well explained, clearly explained yesterday. We take everything into account. We have to draw some lessons from that. Now, when it comes to the payment gateway, which is another very important factor for the development of the CCTLDs, we have noticed that when it comes to online payment, this problem of payment is delaying our work. But it is only going to be possible if we secure the DNS. So we have had some sessions on security. We had a workshop on DNSSEC in order to strengthen security. I think that the ICANN project on DNSSEC is a program that is to be encouraged by all the CCTLD, because it makes it possible for them to acquire the basic knowledge in order to strengthen the level of security. Because once security is strengthened, this is going to allow to bring some trust, and registrars have to play a role in that, because they have to work together. I mean, there should be a collaboration between the different actors. I'm talking about the registry, the registrar, and the end users. This can only be possible if we have achieved a level of security that will be very solid, and which is going to make it possible for everyone to trust in the job they're doing in order to move forward. I think that what we can also do, we'll have to think more and more. And from now up to the next edition, we have to have a summary of the actions that have been carried out at the level of the communities, and the actions to be carried out in the future. As I said earlier, I think it is high time that we instead of speaking, that we just start working. Thank you.
Merci. I was waiting to catch up with us. Thank you very much, Ali Hadji, for those comments. I want to give this opportunity to the floor to interject or to also give their contribution on the future of the Africa Domain Name System Forum. And as I invite you to the microphone, I want to remind us of the words that were said at the opening ceremony by Dr. Ni, that Africa has the answers. Africans are able to solve their problems if they come together in the spirit of multi-stakeholderism. So I think all these solutions are with us on the floor. It just requires our commitment and desire to do the same. So do we have some additional interventions from the floor? Again, please introduce yourself and then share your, or rather say what you would like the audience to know. Let's be quick on the mic. We won't take long on this session.
Good morning. My name is Naza Nicholas, and I am the new secretary for the ISOC chapter in Tanzania. And thank you to the panel and the chair. And my contribution this morning is about actually the relevance of DNS forum in the communities that we serve. I think it is very important to be able to see and make the community see the relevance of the forum. I'm not worried about the technical side of things. What I'm worried about is the constituency that we serve, the people. Is the ordinary person able to understand the importance of DNS forum in his regular life? That is where the importance is, because if we are able to take this and market it properly to the stakeholders, for example, I don't know if they are represented. I don't see any telcos here. For instance, we have the big telephone companies in Tanzania. I don't know if they are represented, but those are the kind of stakeholders that we would want to be to understand the importance of this event. It is very important also for the organizers to, like the forum says, we have to talk to make a stock taking of challenges and the pluses of the forum. What is it that we need to do for the next 5 years to be able to have more, or to have new faces to the as far as the stakeholder issues is concerned? So it is very important for the organizers to be able to get outside of the event, like what Isaac Newton once said, that give me a place to stand and I can move the world. So it is very important for the stakeholders, for the organizers, because they are in it to organize it. So it is very important for them to get outside of it and look at it from the outside perspective and be able to see how they can be able to solve the challenges of making sure we have more stakeholders to this event. So my take on this really is that marketing has been done, but I think we have the capacity to use the local resources in countries that are actually members of the DNS forum or something like that, to be able to market the relevance. If we market the relevance of the event, I'm sure the communities that we serve will be able to respond. For instance, this year DNS Forum was done in Tanzania. My question would be, was there enough marketing done to bring all stakeholders to the forum? So actually, as I leave the podium, my challenge is that it is important, as much as the technical side is important, the soft side of the things is also important to bring the multi-stakeholder to our side. I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of the forum and the future that it holds for Africa. Africa is on the rise, and as it rises, also the DNS Forum should be able to, through stock taking, be able to also rise as the Africa rises. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Yes, Mark. Try and tweet.
Hi, Mark Alkins here. I think technical actually does matter. I think it matters a lot. Things like IPv6 and DNSSEC really do need to be kept going, kept at this forum, and etc. I would like to see, perhaps next year, one day where we just have IPv6 connectivity, for example. Because everyone here should be able to work fine with that, just fine, because all of their CCTLD systems should be on IPv6, and the registrars should also be working with IPv6, and their mail servers should be working with IPv6. So it should not be a problem. I would like to see that, please.
Thank you. Good challenge. William?
Thank you. On another subject, I'm sure I speak for Mark when I say that we will be very happy to work with AFTLD on the task force to make the DNS Observatory a success.
Thank you, William. Yes, Kevin.
Yes, Kevin is my name. I think for me, I'd like to see more ladies participate. I heard the term manels in terms of panels which are only leaning on one side in terms of gender. So I also look at the room. I don't see very many ladies in the room. So for me, I think in the future it's something that we need to encourage. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, we need to do away with these manels. I think we have a manel in front today. It would have been good if we had it balanced. So that's well taken. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Mr. Serge Sanou, admin contact of .dbf from Burkina Faso. This is just to share an idea with you, because yesterday we discussed a lot about the idea of having a DNS forum within each country. So my question is, what do you think about that? Thank you.
Good question, Serge. Maybe if someone could turn off the microphone. Thank you. I think we can take those questions or rather interventions for now. I'll just request my panelists to respond, starting with Bob, then Ali, then Fahd, then Michuki will conclude. And also if you could include your closing remarks.
Thank you. I think most of the comments, the interventions were basically comments. And of course, I agree with Mark that technical matters, and it was a reminder. Even the good book says, remind them even though they know. So indeed, it cannot be overemphasized. I also, of course, highlighted that we need to indeed widen our audience, and it's the same comments from the ISOC chapter secretary. And I believe it is evident, not only from an organizer's perspective, with a wider audience, we will not be struggling even with our sponsorships. And that speaks directly to the sustainability issue that we are talking about. We should actually be able to resolve this sustainability issue. And widening our audience is directly included in that. I think the issue of the observatory, even if we can't achieve what should be an ideal observatory, maybe we could start with a repository. But by all means, I think we need to start somewhere. It is very difficult today to get data on what we are doing. And I believe it has been a historical issue where we were coming from a very closed society. Every CCTLD did not want to what the neighbor is doing, thinking that that was competition and stuff like that. We have moved to a point where we are comfortable sharing between ourselves. I think we now need to move to the next stage and actually share our data. It might not qualify to be an observatory because that needs to be quite real time. But I think even if we started with a repository where at least every CCTLD has its data there, then we can actually evolve to where we want to be. So I think that would be a critical milestone. And if you can't do it in 1 year, by all means, I think by the time we do another 3 editions, we should be having something. That will be my closing as well, Bill.
Thank you, Bob. Ali?
I would like you to start with the idea put forward by Stage. It would be good that each country organize, one of these forums. This is part of our challenges, because as long as on the list of those who propose to host, editions do not participate in these debates. This means that we have not reached, our mission, meaning to allow all the actors to be implicated, to feel implicated. For instance, we have Benin, but when we look at other events on the list, we can make a choice between many countries. So this will be we can vote on this who is going to host the next event. So from that point, we'll know that this country will have filled all the required conditions. But when we have one candidate, this shows that we still have some, a lot of work to be done. So we cannot run. It means we have to put together all our efforts in order to involve all the stakeholders of the domain. Thank you very much, William, for the availability. And as it has been decided that our principal role will be, to work with all the stakeholders. We are really pleased, to work with you, because this goes without saying that the development of our TFLD, but also for our CTLDs, I think it will be a good start to work together in order to work on what you have done, and this shows that we are in the same objective, we think the same way, and this objective is success. For the IPv6, I think this is a very important point, as Mark said it, and this concept has to be integrated. We cannot focalize ourselves or to continue working with IPv4. So CCTLDs should start integrating this protocol in their systems. And this is part of our action plan, is part of our common strategies for the future, how to promote our structures, how to promote our actions to try to develop our CCTLDs. I think organizers of all the events, next events, will have to take this into account so that we can have all the ideas. So that we can have, a very, rich debate which will respond to the needs of our communities and for the whole sector.
Fahd, if you could give your take.
Thank you, Barrack. So a quick question. How many have read the Africa DNS study? Like, really lift your hand up. So that's an issue, really. I mean, we are talking about having national DNS forums. We're talking about an observatory. We're talking about a repository. We're talking about task force. I mean, these are great ideas. But I really think we need to understand the ecosystem we are in. And mind you, I'm trying to wear an African hat here. So I think there are three steps that need to be done. We need to understand our ecosystem. I think even after the forum, I mean, rather than talking about the next forum in Benin, which is again a good idea, I think we need to go back home and do some homework. Probably we need to talk to the CCTLDs. We might want to talk to the registrars. We might want to make them understand that there are issues, that there is a huge potential, and that there is really some work that needs to be done. Before I joined ICANN, I used to run the CCTLD of my country. So I come from Jordan. Jordan is in the Middle East. So we are surrounded by a lot of troubled countries. So we have ISIL up north. We have the mess in Iraq in the east. We have the Israeli/Palestinian conflict in the west. But then, I mean, when I used to run the CCTLD, I always kept telling my upper management, we need to reduce prices, we need to make the policies more flexible, we need to have a small fund for entrepreneurs to kind of encourage entrepreneurship in the DNS industry. We have something like 350,000 registered companies in the country, while we actually only have like 4,300 domain names under management. So our target should really be like 350,000 domain names, not 4,300. So I think there is a lot of homework that needs to be done. Yes, sustainability is good. Talking about sustaining the DNS forum is great. Having it as a platform is great. But it doesn't have a silver bullet solution. It's not going to improve the DNS industry. If we don't go out there and act and talk to the relevant people in our communities, a forum or an event or a conference would really be, of not much value. So it's not going to solve any problems. It's also actually have to go out there and try to do something within the next 12 months so that at the next forum in Benin, we can come and say, well, from the previous forum we've been working on so and so and so, and the CCTLD in my country has done this. This is a good step forward, and that could probably help. So maybe read the study, talk to your CCTLD. Maybe that's some work to be done in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fahd. They say if you want to hide something from an African, write it in a book. And the Swahili say, tafakari hayo. Michuki.
Thank you, Barrack. And I think I'm going to repeat what Fahd had said. A lot of the comments that came up, when Kevin talked about women, the question from Saj on the need for the National DNS Forum, observatory, IPv6, etc. The point is, if we come and try it here and it's not working at the local level, and it will just fail. Meaning that if we're not doing anything at the national level, there are no women involved, there is no DNS community, there is no IPv6 implemented at the national level or at the local level. When we come and try it at the DNS forum, nothing will work. So everything is bottom up. And we have to realize that everything we do here is bottom up. 54 countries, AFTLD is not there. It's the CCTLDs that are present in their respective countries. So they have to do a lot of work at the national level to strengthen their community. If you look at the report, I've only had the chance to read the summary of the DNS study. Of the 51 CCTLDs, only 13 have a fully competitive registrar market. It means 13 of the 54, that's less than 50%, have an ecosystem, if I could put it that way. So if we expect certain things to emerge from the rest, we wouldn't get much. So we need to focus on the countries at the local level and help them come up to speed. So I totally agree with what Fahd said. Let's read this report. This report will help us understand where the problems, where the challenges, where we need to focus a lot of our attention. If you have a strong constituents, and I would like to support you, Saj, please create a national DNS forum. Use it to grow your DNS ecosystem. Because once it's strong at the local level, you have many registrars, they will push you. They will come to the regional DNS forum and say, we want a payment gateway that works because I want to register across borders. I want to be ICANN accredited. I want to be bigger than just a .bf registrar. But if it doesn't exist at the local level, here we can only tackle bigger issues, not local issues, like cross-border issues, capacity building issues, and everything else that has been discussed, alternative dispute resolution, etc. All the things we've discussed this week. But at the national level, there are certain things we can't manage, at least not at this level. We can share experiences, but it's not for us to fix the problems at the local level. So we need that constituents to exist, to that ecosystem to start growing so that we can move forward. So when we are talking about sustainability, I think it works the same way. If the CCs are able to have, each CC in Africa has 1 million domain names, I don't think we'll be struggling to fundraise to get each one of them to sponsor the DNS forum. I don't think that will be a challenge. But when all the CCs are quite small, then you can certainly tell from the list which CCs are capable of supporting the DNS forum. If a registrar has more than 500,000 domain names, you will likely see that registrar supporting the DNS forum because they will be able to come here and they want to get something out of it. So we just need to strengthen that ecosystem a lot more. So if we can focus on those issues, and I think we've dealt with, at least identified, and this to me is why the term adjacent possible is resonating with me very much, is because it's the pathways. Where are we going next? And we are seeing them coming out from these discussions. Let's push them forward. Let's pursue them. And they will help us develop that ecosystem. And finally, when we think about the future of this event, it means that AFTLD needs to lead from the front. And everybody else needs to just be pushing AFTLD to get there. So, again, happy to help continue supporting the work that AFTLD is doing, the community is doing, but we need AFTLD to lead from the front and tell us how we can support the community going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michuki, for those closing remarks. And as I hear the speakers and presenters, I remember the words of Dr. Nee at the opening ceremony. I think he aptly summarized everything that we have discussed in this forum. I was telling him earlier in the morning that an old man sees far when he's sitting than a young man on a very high tree. So he was able to see all these things, and I think I want to invite you to visit africadnsforum.org. You'll find the speech there, which is a good summary of what we've discussed here. And in the speech, he also said that when people are determined, they can overcome anything. I think he quoted Nelson Mandela on the same. We've seen gentlemen here. There's a young man at the ICANN Wiki booth there who took a bus all the way from Nairobi. I think he was late and he took a newspaper van just to come and set up the booth there. And he's been taking people through ICANN Wiki there. I don't even know where he's staying and how he's come. But such is the kind of determination that we are talking about. I think we've seen many volunteers assisting with many aspects of the meeting, the ladies from ISOC Tanzania chapter. I think this is the starting point. Sometimes we ask for a lot, but we need to ask what we can be able to do, or we need to ask for the opportunity, as the secretary of the Tanzanian chapter has said. So in conclusion, we do have some take-homes. There's been a call for certain working groups to be created, such as the blockchain and DNS working group, the payment gateway working group, localization of the DNS forum. And I just want to invite you, if you are interested in being part and parcel of any of these working groups, just send an email to secretariat@aftld.org. It's also on the africadnsforum.org website. And then we'll be able to start actioning on some of these items that have been raised in this meeting. Again, I must say that a lot has been achieved in the last 5 years, which was alluded to by Michuki when we were starting. I think some of our CCTLDs are already implementing what I would call maybe low-hanging fruits or quick wins. I think in Kenya we've seen registrar awards or a lot of effort towards marketing, as you saw from the representative from the Domain Registrars Association of Kenya. I think TZNIC has the TZNIC Week, if I'm not wrong, reaching out to the community in a very big way. In Nigeria, we have the NIRA Awards, recognizing local stakeholders and players that are contributing in the DNS industry. ZEDNA is active in iWeek, the Internet Week in South Africa. I think you can check, is it iweek.org.za? Yes, you can check that out. We have TZNOG that was mentioned by Dr. Ni. We have RwandaNOG that is supported by .rw. We have a lot of CCTLD exchange programs that also Michuki mentioned as we started, and also registrar exchange programs. I must say that as part of this journey, some of our registrars were hosted by affiliates, just on an exchange program to be able to learn how they can be able to do the business in a better way. And the fact that our registrars doubled to, ICANN accredited registrars doubled from 4 to about 11 is a testament of the initiatives that I've done. That said, there's plenty to do, and we challenge and encourage the CCTLDs that have not been able to start some of these initiatives at local level to do the same. Reach out to other CCTLDs next door, reach out to AFTLD. Again, as the Vice President has said, we are committed to supporting each and every CCTLD. So with that, I request you to give a round of applause to this panel. That was very insightful. And now I would like